everyone. Today is 5th of October. Now it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze, and this is Srebrny Bor or Silver Forestry island on the Moscow River, from which I will record today's first update with quite number of important interesting news about some important developments. So hopefully you will find this update interesting, and if so, while listening or watching, please, if you can, click that like button and leave some commentary. That will be helpful to deal with the algorithm, obviously. And because today is Saturday, on weekends I don't have second updates, but I will publish on Patreon new episode of behind the scenes short videos about this past week. So hopefully you will find this video interesting, and also our Patreon community will find that new episode of behind the scenes interesting. And nice scenery, isn't it? Who would imagine that it's only about half an hour drive, and from this forestry area you are, in Moscow's central part. It is good that this place was and is preserved as much as possible. So let's go through some news. And first of all, a report of RIA Novosti, which is based on Russian Defense Ministry statement that southern grouping of forces of the Russian army liberated settlement of Zhelannoye Vtoroye. This is Pokrovsk sector of the front line, of course. Also, we have Vzгляд News paper's report, which is based on statements of Russian officers that were participating in Ugledar offensive, Ugledar operation, and according to a report in Vzгляд newspaper, during the clashes around and inside the Ugledar, Kiev regime lost about 5 brigades, including 72nd Brigade, which suffered their colossal losses and most likely are not really battle capable no more. Its only name is left from that brigade, and maybe just a few hundred personnel that managed to escape from Ugledar. Also, dear friends, Russian Defense Ministry updated information on the situation in the Kursk salient area, and Defense Ministry is reporting that the losses of the armed forces of Ukraine since the beginning of the hostilities in the Kursk region amounted to more than 20,650 servicemen. In total, during the hostilities in the Kursk direction, enemy lost more than 20,650 servicemen, 136 tanks, 66 infantry fighting vehicles, 98 armored personnel carriers, 885 armored combat vehicles, 582 cars that were used by Kiev regime forces and the NATO mercenaries for military purposes. Also 170 pieces of artillery. The Russian Defense Ministry noted that their enemy also lost 33 multiple launch rocket systems, including 8 HIMARS and 6 MLRS made in the United States, 9 anti-aircraft missile launchers, 5 transport and loading vehicles, 44 electronic warfare stations, 9 counter-battery radars, 3 air defense radars, 22 units of engineering and other equipment, including 13 engineering vehicles for obstacle clearance and UR-77 mine clearing unit. Also 3 armored repair and recovery vehicles. So colossal losses on part of Kiev regime and NATO mercenaries in the Kursk direction. And I know at least some members of our community are a bit skeptical about these numbers that Russian Defense Ministry is sharing about Kursk, about counter-terrorist operation in Kursk salient. And recently, I even see several comments that how it can be that Kiev regime lost more than 20,000 military personnel, while it was reported that only like 1,000 troops entered the region, or 3,000 or 5,000. And I mean, what can I say? Of course, any news nowadays should be taken with a pinch of salt, but it's not initial stages of this invasion right now, isn't it? On initial stages, yes, there was reports that Kiev regime launched invasion with 1,000 military personnel, 3,000. There were different numbers, but of course, since then, this number increased significantly. Number of brigades were directed in this area, up to 10 brigades, by the way, and if not more. And it's a simple calculation. I mean, 10, 12 brigades are about 30, 40,000 military personnel at least, right? And if you take in account these numbers, then it's not at all surprising that Russian armed forces neutralized more than 20,000 personnel of the Kiev regime and NATO mercenaries, and also about 2,000 different pieces of military hardware, from tanks to air defense systems and so on. So, me personally, I have no doubts that defense ministry's numbers are correct, maybe even a bit conservative, but yet again, I'm reporting about news that I see in Russian media. It's up to everybody to make their own conclusions. So that being said, let's continue with some more news. And I hope you like scenery, dear friends. As I said, just half an hour drive from here, and it's Moscow city center. And it is truly nice that in Moscow this wonderful place is preserved. Also, let's continue with some more news, and we have a report that Jens Stoltenberg, former head of NATO, former Secretary General of the NATO, is saying now that Kiev may have to accept loss of territory for peace. But anyways, let's go through news. Ukraine may have to recognize the loss of some of its territories to Russia in order to achieve peace and security guarantees. Jens Stoltenberg said in his first long interview after stepping down as a NATO Secretary General. Stoltenberg ended his 10-year work as a chief of US-led alliance on October 1st. In a conversation with the Financial Times published on Friday, he said that Kiev may be forced to rethink seeing the restoration of their 1991 borders as a prerequisite for any peace deal. Stoltenberg suggested that a kind of new momentum would come after the US presidential elections in early November, possibly sharing in ways to try to get movement on the battlefield combined with the movement around the negotiating table. And I'm going to show you this area also, dear friends. It's not just forestry, but lakes here, also. Let me show you other side. I made once before video here, but I just don't remember it was a news update or video for Patreon. And plenty of people are walking around. It's a weekend, so people are resting. So the West should make the conditions that would enable Ukraine to sit down with the Russians and get something which is acceptable, something where they survive as an independent nation, Stoltenberg said. And when asked what he would propose to Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky, the former NATO chief offered a comparison to the resolution of the Soviet-Finnish War nearly 85 a year ago. Finland fought war against the Soviet Union in 1939. They imposed a much bigger cost on the Red Army than expected. He said the war ended with them giving up 10% of their territory, but they got a secure border. And we all know there was a war between Soviet Union and Finland, and Finnish troops put up some brave fight for sure. But that conflict should be or could be avoided entirely if Helsinki listened to Moscow. And because they did not, this war happened, and they lost not just thousands and thousands of their military personnel, but also huge areas when it comes to territory. Second biggest city at the time in Finland became a Russian city after that war. So under the March 1940 treaty, Finland ceded a large portion of the Karelia region and Viipuri, its second largest city at the time, known as Vyborg here in Russia, also. So that's what Stoltenberg is referring to. And he argued that Ukraine could obtain security guarantees from NATO even if there is a line that is not necessarily the internationally recognized border. He noted that the US defense pact with Japan does not cover Tokyo's claim on the Kuril Islands, which are part of Russia, and that West Germany was admitted to NATO despite the fact that East Germany was controlled at the time by separate Soviet allying government. Interesting change in tune from Stoltenberg, isn't it? Just a week ago, he was all about war. He was all about prolongation of this conflict. And now, as he is no longer head of the NATO, his rhetoric has changed, and he is calling Kyiv regime to reconsider peace talks, approach toward the peace talks, and also consider a possibility that they will have to secede some territories for peace. I guess it's just too late for Ukraine as a state. Oh, dear friends, let me show you this. Oh, hello, buddy. Nice. I think it might be too late for Ukraine as a state to survive, because most likely after what had happened, most likely Ukraine will be divided between Russia and the NATO, Russia and the West. Western parts of Ukraine will eventually be reclaimed by Poland, Hungary, and Romania, and the rest of this territory of this former Soviet republic most likely will be become part of Russia one way or another, or will be controlled by Russia. Although there are, of course, theoretical chance that Kiev and surrounding areas may remain as a state on the political map, but I will say chances for that are like very slim, almost next to none. But I mean, only time will tell. Only time will tell. But it is interesting. It is interesting that Stoltenberg now is suggesting to Kiev regime to consider secession of the territories for peace, while in 2022 Russia already offered peace agreement, and Kiev regime was initially accepting this agreement, but then we all know what happened, isn't it? Western ruling class sent their puppet Johnson to Kiev. Also, I believe high-ranking officials from US went to Kiev in the same time, and they derailed these peace talks. They just derailed these peace talks. Unfortunately. Anyways, let's continue now with some more news, and we have a report on TASS News Agency that Hezbollah's executive council chief Hashem Safi al-Din considered their leading contender for the post of Secretary General of the Lebanese Shiite Party was killed in an Israeli attack on Beirut. This was reported by Al Arabiya TV channel, citing sources. Safi al-Din, according to their channel, was killed in an Israeli airstrike on southern suburbs of Beirut on Friday, and several officials of the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps were killed along with him during that strike. So Israel is methodically eliminating just about everybody with whom, theoretically speaking, Israel has to conduct negotiations about ending hostilities. And therefore, this the escalation is nowhere in, it's definitely not on the horizon, unfortunately. Also, we have reported that Israeli authorities have not given the United States guarantees that they will not strike Iran's nuclear infrastructure, CNN reported, citing a senior State Department official. We hope for wisdom and the strength, but as you understand, no guarantees, the State Department officials noted. So there are talks, of course, about possible Israeli retaliatory strike for Iran's recent strike on Israel. And according to some reports, Israeli leadership, Israeli militaries are considering strikes to be conducted against Iran's nuclear infrastructure, also nuclear facilities, which is crazy, of course. Which is crazy. Maybe Netanyahu don't cares about radioactive pollution, but world should care, and the voice of the international community should be heard, because it is dangerous. I mean, we are in such a strange times now that attacks on nuclear facilities not just being considered, but in case of Kiev regime is actually happening, because they are targeting Russian nuclear power stations on a regular basis, and it's only thanks to work of air defense systems of the Russian Federation and radioelectronic warfare that nuclear disaster did not happen yet, and let's hope will not happen. But danger is there. Danger is there. Now Israel is considering to attack basically Iran's nuclear facilities. I mean, it sounds crazy, and it is crazy, but I mean, what you can do about it? Probably they will attack. I mean, there is a high risk of that for sure, for that. And on this topic exactly, about Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities, former and possibly future president of US, Donald Trump, also shared his opinion. And he said that Israel should carry out strike on Iran's nuclear facilities to avenge Tehran's recent missile attack on their Jewish state. The attack, I mean, let me give you some quotes from Trump. They asked him, what do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit their nuclear stuff, that's the thing you want to hit, right? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have, nuclear weapons, he said. When they ask him that question, the answer should have been hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. I guess he was referring to Biden. And at least in media, there was reports that Biden's administration is warning Israel not to carry out strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. But yet again, whenever any news comes out from White House nowadays, you just cannot take it seriously, right? And when it comes to Trump's position, he's saying that, you know what, just carry out the attacks on nuclear power stations and worry about the rest after that, which is also extreme approach, isn't it? I mean, maybe Trump don't cares also about radioactive pollution. Maybe he thinks these particles, radioactive particles, will not reach US or something. But I don't know when this world become this crazy, man. When so much so that top level public figures and politicians openly are discussing attacks on nuclear power stations. I mean, this is pure madness. I mean, this is just pure madness. And unfortunately, it seems like this media campaign and in the West and the narrative that Iran was targeting Trump and Iran was playing on behalf of Democrats. This narrative maybe get to Trump's nerves because he is not yet president of US and already acting like his top priority will be destruction of Iran or something like that. Not good. Definitely not good. Maybe it will be better if US leaders finally focused on US itself and issues that US citizens are facing and leave this world alone. I mean, US done enough damage to this world. Enough. But, but US is run by neocons, isn't it? US is run by, and the collective West in general, run by this so-called Western ruling class that only cares about their own dominance over the world, their own mercantile interests, and that's it. They don't care about nothing else. Anyways, let's continue with the news that France's public debt has once again begun to grow in relation to GDP. In the second quarter, the figure reached 113%, increasing by 2.4 percentage points compared to the end of the last year. While it had been decreasing for the 3 years prior to that. RIA Novosti calculated based on open statistics. And well, I don't know about you, dear friends, but I'm not at all surprised to hear this news that French national debt is increasing again. Economy of France definitely not in her best shape. And same can be said about other major economies in Europe: Germany, Italy, Spain, UK. UK is of course not a EU member state now, but it is Europe, geographically speaking. So therefore, it is only understandable that national debt is increasing in France and in all the other countries, by the way, that I just mentioned. And if I remember correctly, French GDP is about 2.7, 2.8 trillion. So if national debt is 113%, then I guess French national debt is about 3 trillion or something like that, which is quite a number. Not like US, by the way, not 36 trillion as in case of US, but still 3 trillion is quite a lot, and can be seen as an indicator that well, French economy is definitely not in a best place. Also, dear friends, we have reports from TASS news agency that Syria officially applied to join the BRICS. Well, good luck to Syria, of course. I don't think this state is in position to join BRICS anytime soon, but cooperation between BRICS member states and Syria definitely should and most likely will take place, and it will be very helpful for Syrian people, first of all. And a few more news, dear friends. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that Bank of Cyprus closed about 20,000 accounts of the 7,000 Russian citizens. And this is due to Western sanctions on Russia. And well, this information definitely is demonstration how less Western ruling class cares about members of the collective West, because Russian businesses, Russian tourists were one of the main sources of income for Cyprus. And as far as I understand, Cyprus is experiencing some economical and financial issues right now due to lack of these investments that this island nation had thanks to Russia, Russian citizens and businesses from here. But yet again, ask Western ruling elites, do they care about Cyprus or local economy there? Of course they don't. And finally, dear friends, I'll give you news about oil. So oil prices surge on Middle Eastern supply fears. So global oil prices climbed on Friday after Israel's invasion of Lebanon and Iran's missile attack on Israel sparked volatility on energy markets. The Brent benchmark gained 1.8% on Friday to $79 per barrel as of 10:43 GMT. It is the highest level since the August 30. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude rose 1.3% to trade at $75. In this case, price on Brent is most important for Russia, because as far as I understand, Russian Urals is price on Russian Urals is somewhat connected with the price on Brent, and this is just a slight volatility on the market and prices are already jumping due to this whole escalation in the Middle East. And can you imagine where these prices will be if Western ruling class will manage to provoke regional war there, as they want to, because as I said many times before, main goal for Western ruling class is to provoke regional war in the Middle East, shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf and the Hormuz Strait and through Hormuz Strait, and cut off China from Middle Eastern energy sources. And if Western ruling class will manage to achieve this, I mean, you tell me where prices for oil be in that case. Probably up to $200 for a barrel or more even. So, but anyways, let's hope it will not come to next level of escalation there. And dear friends, let me end this update now on this news about oil prices. And I hope you like the scenery, background. Truly nice place, truly nice place. Have a great day, dear friends. Wonderful weekend. And well, before I go, well, only thing left is to say that if you like my channel, if you like my work, and if you want to support, you can do it with donation through PayPal or Boosty, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and Boosty pages, on which I have some extra content on regular basis, including second news updates and also some non-political content about life here in Russia. So this is it for now. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a great day.